Hello, it's Pete Hughes here. Welcome to the vlog. And today we're going to be looking at some gorgeous dies from Tim Holtz. Well, don't really need to say that, do I? I don't need to say gorgeous because we know they're gorgeous. I'll just say some dies from Tim Holtz. But more importantly, we're going to be looking at a couple of kits which are absolute essentials for all makers and all die cutters. So, I was talking about wonderful tools, and here they are now. Obviously these are essentials for me. We've got a die brush, a die pick and the foam mat, and I'll show you how these work. We'll talk about the functionality of these. Also on our die brush we have this lovely magnetic end, and that clips on and off to this die brush, so you can use it when you want, when you don't need it. So imagine you've got alphabet dies, you've got dozens of them all over the two. Oh, let's go across to here. Look at that, picks them all up straight away. You can pop them straight back. So any metal bits, any dies you've got lying about, just pick them up with this, pop them straight back in their packaging. It's a really cool tool, but of course it's all about the die brush and die pick as well. And this foam mat, it does come into play. It's really important. Now, that is the die brush and die pick accessory kit. And then after that, we've got the shaping kit. We've got these wonderful tweezers, which when you press them together like that, the jaws open. And then when you relax it, whatever you're holding is going to stay there. So if I take this die, for example, imagine this, we were applying the heat tool to it. So we had some embossing powder. You can hold that in place. It's not going to move about. It's going to be away from the source of heat. So it's great if you're working on something and you want to hold it, but you don't want to be applying the pressure all the time with your fingers. These tweezers give you that option. Really cool set. Mr. Holtz signature, of course. Now, these other two are, well, they're ball end styluses, and there are 4 sizes. This one, the smallest stylus, is great if you want to put creases in cards as well. But when you're shaping die cuts, particularly flowers, these are absolutely essential. And of course, they come with this foam mat, and we'll look at the functionality of that in a second. Now, let's talk dies, shall we? What I've got here, I want to show you these wonderful frames. This one features the Bloom Colorize die set. This one is Brushstroke Flowers number 1. And of course, if we have a number 1, then we have a number 2. These two stylistically, they do work together. They're completely interchangeable. We're going to show some of that in a second. And we're going to talk about how to get some wonderful dimension into our die cuts. These were created by applying inks to the cardstock and then die cutting thereafter. So I'm going to put those to one side just for a second, and I'm going to be working on here. Now, I pre-cut a lot of these bits and pieces, so I'm going to slide those off and pop them onto my mat. These are the other bits I need. But before I do anything, I'm going to die cut something, because it seems it would be wrong not to use my machine and show you how these work. If you're a first-time viewer, if you've never used these dies before, then this is how they work. Now, this is from Brushstroke Flowers number 1. You'll see that in here there's some raised rule, but that doesn't cut, that creases. What that means is that all these other elements can be placed exactly where you want them to get perfect registration. Now, let's take a piece of cardstock, and this is from our Sizzix cardstock range, one of our lovely packs. Please do go and check those out. It's 216 GSM, so it's a perfect weight for die cutting and for making base cards. Really well thought out collection. So I'll simply run that through. After placing it between the 2 plates, it comes out the other side, and there's our die cut flower together with all these other bits. Now, if I take those out, you'll notice that some of the elements are actually still in the die. So what I'm going to do is take my die pick at this point, and I'm simply going to poke through, and that will release all these little bits. So to pop them out without causing any damage whatsoever to the die cut pieces or the die. And that's what these holes, in case you wondered in the past what these holes in the back of the die are for, that's exactly what they're for your die pick. Now, that being said, everything I've done thus far is pre-cut, so I'll take my machine to one side and we'll have a look at these lovely dies. Now, I want to create a flower, but I want it to be dimensional, and I'm going to place it onto this background. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of stamping, and I'm going to use 2 stamp sets. These are from Stampers Anonymous. You can find these on the Sizzix website. Now, this one is called Tiny Text, and you'll notice there are phrases and sentiments for every occasion there. Really cool, really left field, very different to what you would normally find out there for stamping phrases. Can you believe that there are 49 different stamps? I counted them before we started, so I know there are 49 different stamps. So great value for money. That's Tiny Text. We are also going to be using, this is a favorite of mine and Josh, who is on the camera. Say hi, Josh.
Hello.
There you go. Now, this one, correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, but faded type. This is wonderful for your mixed media makes, great for creating backgrounds. And I'm going to be using one of those stamps and one from here. Let me have a look. Create your own dreams. So I'll put those to one side. Now on the background here, what I want to do is I'm just going to put this, and it's going to create a pattern in the background there. So I'll place it onto my stamping pad, and I'm inking this up with some light grey ink here. There we are, good to go. Before applying that to the background, and this type it's kind of broken up, and that's the effect that we want there. So that's on the background. Then I'm going to take my other stamp, the smaller stamp, the sentiment stamp, Own Your Dreams, and I'm simply going to pick that up with my stamp pad before applying my ink to that. Then, taking another piece of card, I'm going to pop that on there. So that will be my sentiment. I'll trim that down to size and use it later on. But I'll put it to one side for a second. Now, the flowers. We're wondering what all these flowers are about. Well, and we're wondering how we're going to use the kit. These ball end styluses, they are perfect for very delicate die cuts, for getting dimension. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to work in a circular motion. And I'm just going to go, and now this doesn't affect the lovely texture of the cardstock. It stays exactly as it was before. But what's happening is it's curling the edges of these lovely delicate petals, and it's giving me some real dimension. You can do this to the extreme actually with certain flowers. If you're using a daisy, for example, do all the different petals, layer it up, you're getting that dimension, and it really does bring it to life. Now let's take the next one. So these flowers are all from Brushstroke Flowers number 1. I've also used some little bits of foliage, these bits of cream. These are from Brushstroke Flowers number 2. And because they work, because this is designed by the same designer, they are stylistically interchangeable. So we can use them together. So it's not just about one set or the other. You can actually use them all together. Let's take those leaves. So we just curl it. So it's lying flat there, but those leaves are curled over like so. Let's take the next one, do the same with that. Now, if you had a leaf and you wanted to make a crease down the center to fold it, you can do it with this tool. You can get a lovely crease in a piece of card using that. Let's get all these other bits, and we'll get through these quickly, because I think we've established exactly how this tool works now. There we are. And we're bringing that in like so. So what we've got now, we've got all these bits. I could put them together using foam pads. So place that bit of foam, so I'm getting extra dimension. Then I'll take the cream. Now I can put this exactly in the center like that before building it up, bringing in the next layer like that. So I'm building up layers. These will slot underneath, and doesn't it look great against the black? the way that it pops out. So all you need to do is take your glue, pop these in place. Absolutely wonderful. Maybe having some of this cream as well, just sitting there like so, maybe coming down here. So you can put these together how you want. That was done very quickly. If you want extra dimension, as I said, use foam pads, use your glue. It's entirely up to you. Now, I've done an example of this using all the elements, but I've actually put some tiny pearls in the center. And this is what I've done. You can see that dimension there. You can see all these popping out. So create this however you want. If you want to put it that side, if you want to change the colors up, I've kept the color palette deliberately very, very simple with this one. But that, it just goes to show, I mean, that's completely different to that one, but very similar at the same time. So it's giving you the freedom as the maker to put these together exactly how you want. So that are those two tools, I should say. And let me show you some more example of our lovely flowers. This is Bloom. Remember, this is the first one we looked at. That one, I've laid it up with different colors from the Sizzix color story. And this one, I've actually used gilding wax over the top to pick up the dimension, because you're layering die cut upon die cut upon die cut, and that gilding wax really helps pop them out. These are from our brush stroke flowers. Again, we've turned that into a little bit of a poppy. Then there's another one. Again, getting that dimension, oh, flipped over there. Getting that lovely dimension using our stylus tools. How about using the styluses with these? Now this is a pearlized card. We've got glitter card there. Works exactly the same on that metallic card. Sometimes you get a wonderful burnish with that. And then finally, two of the small elements from brushstroke number 2 set. And now you'll notice this background. This comes from a die called Flowery. And I'm going to show you that die in action, because this will be a perfect illustration of how to use a die brush and die pick. It's a very detailed, very complex die. So what I'm going to do, let's put these to one side and bring my Big Shot fold away back into play. Because with a complex die like this, you may find that you want to run it through the machine a couple of times. Complex dies, they do cut better when the die is face up. So I'll put the silver against the surface like that. Make sure everything's lined up. And I'm going to run this through. Now, that lovely reassuring click when it goes through, that's the die as it meets the roller. Then I'm going to go back one more time. And you know what? If you're not I can see that that's cut. You could go through one more time for luck. That's entirely up to you. But 2 should be ample. We've come to expect that now with more complex dies, a little extra TLC. So run that through a couple of times. And there we have it. Now, what I love about this die is the detail. What I don't like about dies like this is that all these little bits now are stuck in here and also in the die itself. You'll notice there are some pieces. That's where our die brush and die pick really earn their money, because I'm going to place that on this foam mat, and there's plenty of give in this foam mat, which is exactly what I'm just going to run it over the top. Now you'll see this is a very delicate metallic paper. It doesn't affect the finish on this metallic cardstock, and it's from our Opulent range, the Opulent Silver range, so please check that out as well. Wonderful card. But you'll notice there's all your bits. There's the die cut, but oh, you know what? There's a couple of bits which are still in the die, so I can pop those out again using my die pick. I can localize that. It's also great if you've got a big die and there's little bits stuck in there. You can pick them out using the die pick. So there we have it. You just go all the way around until that's done. Similar with this, we found all those bits, we find out where they are, we poke through these little holes and it leaves our die clean. You get the picture. I'm going to put that to one side. Let me show you some examples using that now. Here, very, very simple, very elegant. All it is one die cut, just stuck onto black card and a nice sentiment on the top. The same die here, except we've chosen just one small element, laid it up on black card and used gilding wax over the top. Here we've taken a strip of inked card. and we've just used the black die cut over the top of that, so the colour's coming through, just black card. This one, the black card is on the base and the ink is on the flowers, so that's stuck onto the card and then trimmed to size. Then one more. Finally, again, gilding wax, just using a stripper there. This, you could even make your own bookmarks. So there you go. There's some very simple cards. There is one more set that I want to show you before we go. Because I wanted to show it because I know it's a favorite for many of you. One of our best-selling sets from Tim have been our wildflower range. Now, this is wildflower stems number 3, and you're getting 5 flowers in that set. Stylistically and size-wise, they work with all the existing collections. That's wildflower stems numbers 1 and 2 as well, which are still available. And you can see how delicate they are. That's a wonderful silhouette there. But if we use our styluses from the shaping kit, we can actually add a little bit of dimension to the edge of the leaves, to the petals of the flowers. So that one's been inked, obviously. Here, a couple from our neutral cardstock there, just overlaid. Again, getting a little bit of dimension, so it's standing proud of the card there. Then this one, just greens on that one. Different greens, very, very dark greens, very light greens, very blue greens, yellow greens. Really cool. And then finally, last but not least, lovely, cool sentiment there. Just a single stem. That's all it takes. Well, thank you very much. I do hope you enjoyed that. I'm sure you'll agree. Some beautiful dies and some wonderful tools. And I hope they find their way into your stash at some point in the not too distant future. Now, if you want to find out more about these products, please go to sizzix.co.uk, or if you're in the US, sizzix.com. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.